This week on Arizona Illustrated, Santa Cruz Church, 100 years later.
The real history is the way people live every day. You just look at our records, our marriage books, our baptismal books, all these. I mean, the life was just teeming down here.
The Colorado Plateau Foundation.
Science is one knowledge system, and in fact, it's one sphere of knowledge. And traditional knowledge of native peoples in the Colorado Plateau is another sphere of knowledge. It's a different kind of knowledge.
And the butterfly.
Increased temperatures coupled with unusual precipitation patterns is leading to butterfly decline.
Welcome to Arizona Illustrated. I'm Tom McNamara. Santa Cruz Catholic Church, the tall white structure that stands on the southwest corner of 6th Avenue and 22nd Street in Tucson, celebrated its 100-year anniversary in 2019. This is a look at the cultural and architectural significance of this church and the community that gathers here.
The Santa Cruz Catholic Church and its distinctive 90-foot bell tower dominate the intersection of 6th Avenue and 22nd Street in Tucson, Arizona. It's unlike anything else on the visual horizon. In 1916, when construction first began, this was the southern edge of Tucson's city limits. The location was chosen by Bishop Henri Grandjean to serve the growing Mexican population on the south side, and because he reportedly liked to hunt rabbits in the area. Over time, the outskirts became the inner city, but the church, seemingly unaffected by time, retains its historic tranquility.
Things are in flux, not in Santa Cruz. Santa Cruz, we have many generations, and that really adds to the culture, the connection. You can go anywhere in Tucson, and somebody has a connection to Santa Cruz Church.
The history of this building is deep and rich, as are the stories of the families who make up the congregation. Many have been attending for generations.
The existence of this parish of Santa Cruz as a community, as a cultural reality, religious reality, has been very tolerant. Tolerance to all sorts of people because of the location that we are in. We're at the border basically of South Tucson and Tucson. We've been more connected to South Tucson.
The annual Fiesta de la Familia in May brings the community together around food, music, and some beer. The crowd is largely Hispanic and working class. The men bring their own chairs to sit and people watch. People dance as the sun goes down. It is a universal scene and at the same time uniquely Tucson. Adults and children are excited to be seen there.
I've been in a lot of places. I've been in Rome, I've been in Uganda, but I am very happy to be here. When I see that tower, and I'm coming down 22nd Street, it really gives me a great feeling. You have something that links you to your wonderful past and architecturally, you know.
The architect, Manuel Flores, built the structure that was designed by Bishop Henri Grandjean. It was heavily influenced by the churches Grandjean saw in southern Spain.
Spain was conquered by the Muslims for 400 years or so. There's some blending between the Arabs and the Spanish culture, where it really brings out the highlight of this architecture. It's in the bell tower.
When World War I ended, the church had not officially opened yet, and the bishop ran up there and rang that tower, you know, to announce to the whole town the end of World War I. And I still think that tower has a purpose for this town.
Under the plaster and the Arabic detailing, the tower is built of brick, but the rest of the structure is primarily adobe. Bishop Grandjean reportedly paid Native Americans $10 per load of 2,000 adobe bricks. According to the 1996 application to the National Register of Historic Places, the church is the largest adobe structure built in Arizona and is still in relatively good condition. It even survived a politically motivated bombing in 1924. Striking miners set off dynamite at the front of the church, blowing off the doors and shattering all the glass in the building. No one was hurt, and you get a sense that today's priests might have sided with the miners.
That's what I'm going to say about that.
The church's spiritual lineage dates back to Europe in the 1500s and the Order of Discalced Carmelites.
We keep our vestments here. That's the shield of the order, by the way. This mount stands for Mount Carmel. I feel very connected to the priests that went before me who wore those vestments. We do harm to ourselves when we forget our ancestors. And these are my spiritual ancestors.
A group of Discalced Carmelite friars was sent from Spain to Mexico to do missionary work in the late 1800s. In 1910, they fled the Mexican Revolution and settled in many of the small mining towns across southern Arizona.
They were preaching to the people, teaching them their religion, helping them stay faithful to their Catholic faith.
As a gift and standing for the friars, this church was built.
On December 12, members of the Santa Cruz Church meet at a small satellite location to celebrate the Day of the Virgin of Guadalupe.
Just after I was born, we moved to Tucson from Nogales, and we've always been in the Santa Cruz area. And as I got older, my parents moved, but we still kept coming to Santa Cruz. So it's 60 years. I got married there. My children were baptized there. I went to school there. My children went to school there. My grandson goes to school there.
God is everything for me. And I feel like I'm blessing. I'm living near to the church. I can live without God. The church is beautiful and the people too. And it's almost 100 years and it's so beautiful church.
I got baptized in 9 months here at Santa Cruz Church. I got confirmed, made my Holy First Communion. All my relatives, my mother, my father, my brother, my grandparents, all that have passed away, we have had the funeral masses at Santa Cruz. It just means a lot to me that, I feel their presence sometimes here at Santa Cruz.
Que viva la Virgen de Guadalupe! Que viva la Virgen de Guadalupe! Que viva Cristo Rey! Que viva San Juan Diego! ¡Vámonos!
Dios te salve María, llena eres de gracia, el Señor es contigo, bendita eres.
The group will walk 1 mile back to Santa Cruz singing and praying along the way, on the same route they've been traveling for over 50 years. While the route has stayed the same, the neighborhood has started to change in recent years.
The people who are settling, and they're coming, from across 22nd, from the cathedral down, it's that gentrification. They're the ones who are taking an interest in starting something in this neighborhood. That's why I'm somewhat torn, because I like vitality, life, people doing things and living. At the same time, I want to protect the families that are here and who have a stake in this place, and not to have a whole cultural shift. And yet, it happens all over the country.
There's a balance between, you could say, the old and the new. Even we see that in scriptures, right? You don't toss away the old. You don't disregard the new, but you make them work together.
We're not going to get fanatical about it, but we've done a pretty good job, and this neighborhood is pretty remarkable in retaining the traditions that go back 3, 4 generations. You know, we always think of history in such big terms, but the real history is the way people live every day.
Cada uno de nosotros como cristianos debemos, es nuestro deber, extender la mano a todos. No importa qué color sean, no importa qué raza sean, tenemos que extender la mano. How many feet have gone through the front door of this church? How many of those people that have gone through have suffered through the Depression of the 1920s? How many have lost sons and daughters in the First World War, Second World War, Vietnam, the Gulf War? Walking out of this church brand new because they now started a new life, married. Expected mothers, for the first time, they're waiting for their baby to be baptized. Every single pair of feet that walk through that door and sit in these old pews have a story to say.
The Colorado Plateau Foundation is a native-led organization created to protect sacred places, native languages, and sustainable community-based agriculture. These are some of the voices involved in this effort.
People may fly over this region, maybe flying from Los Angeles to Denver. They know the Grand Canyon is down there, but they also don't realize that there's people living down there. People that have been here for thousands of years. People that are speaking original languages of this continent. Many people thought that we were already gone, that we were extinct. They didn't realize that there's still people living here and have made choices to stay here. So the Colorado Plateau Foundation now is in its 9th year of grant making. And while we have started modestly, now we are making a little over $500,000 in grant making per year.
My name is Josh Lucio, and I am the former outgoing president of the Colorado Plateau Foundation, but I also took on the role of the current treasurer.
I got involved initially with the Colorado Plateau because I was a grantee.
My name's Angela Gonzalez. I'm a brand new board member for the foundation.
My name is Areta Begay, and I'm Navajo.
I'm a member of the Hopi tribe from the village of Shamopavi.
We're actually probably one of a few boards in the country that are predominantly Native American.
For the U.S. population, American Indians represent less than 1% of the nation's population, but here in Arizona we're 6%. 1/3 of the land in Arizona is federally designated reservation land.
My name is Cynthia Wilson. I'm the Traditional Foods Program Director for Utah de Nebuchadnezzar. I come from a very traditional background, and based on my upbringing, I hear stories from my elders how water is sacred. I'm taught that when we hear just the sound of water, it's actually communicating with the plants in our environment. Just the sound of water can allow a plant to grow.
Science is one knowledge system, and in fact it's one sphere of knowledge. And traditional knowledge of native peoples in the Colorado Plateau is another sphere of knowledge. It's a different kind of knowledge.
When I got older, I finally decided, okay, this is what I want to do for a living. We have a deep connection with the sheep as well, because we're caring for them, feeding them every day, hauling water, as well as working with them. And they give us this really beautiful wool that we clean, and it's all done by hand. So that just makes it more a part of you and who you are. When you spin, you know, your wool comes out in a certain way, and every spinner is different how they like to spin their wool. So all of it is just having that hands-on, knowing that, hey, I started this from the beginning and I followed it all the way through to the end.
As I was working on projects in this area, people were giving really for things that they thought were important. So in other words, people were saying, what you need is this, what you need is that. When really, people's here, we know what we need. We know, one, protecting water is important. Two, we know that protecting sacred places is important. Three, we know that preserving language is important. And four, that we must grow food.
The first seed that was planted here was in 2009. I've had the opportunity to see this farm start from the ground up. It's been a very humbling experience. The farm, it's for the people, and it's by the people. It's all Apache. You know, this is for our Apache people. We have one grocery store here, and there's about 13,000 people that live on the reservation. And that one grocery store supplies food to 13,000 people.
If you ask the younger ones, you know, where does your tomato come from? Or where does your apples come from? You know, the first thing is they'll say Walmart, you know. That's where we come in.
And that's why this farm is here too, is also to educate our community, to provide more access to fresh quality produce.
I work here in Debikia as the distribution manager, so I pretty much take care of a lot of sales, distributing the produce to local community businesses as well as schools, and then our local farmers market as well. I actually started here when it first started in 2010 as a seasonal worker, and so I was in high school. I'm actually looking to get my degree in being an ethnobotanist, come back to the community and reteach a lot of what has been lost. Our people were very healthy people, and so I really want to revitalize that and teach our people some of the wild foods that we've lost. But not only that, but within our own language. The word for land and mine is the same. It really tells you how close our people were with the land.
We've come a long way. We really have grown. And if it weren't for organizations and foundations like Colorado Plateau, who offered to bring people here to help us build on our capacity, to improve on our infrastructure, you know, if it weren't for people who believed in us, who saw the importance of projects like this, we wouldn't be doing a lot of things we're doing now. Getting my hands in the dirt, getting dirty. That spoke to me, that taught me, that showed me who I am. That, you know, it felt like a sense of relief. In 2002, my brother didn't come home all night, and we were waiting for him, and he never showed up. And the police came. And I didn't want to hear what they had to say, so I walked off. And from what I took my brother got in an accident. That's what I interpreted as. Then my mom came in and she told us that somebody had murdered my brother. And since then, life hasn't been the same. When I came back, when I came here and I put my hands in the dirt, something clicked in my mind. and told me like, okay, Clayton, this is who you are. You know, you're trying to work for your people. You're trying to find an avenue to be of support, to be of help to your people. And this is where you start from. Okay. When we started working here, yeah, you know, we were gonna start growing food for our community, but we didn't know that people were gonna come here and try to find healing. It's more than just farming, it's more than growing food.
Butterflies are essential pollinators in our ecosystem, and their existence is now being challenged by climate change. Entomologists at the University of Arizona have enlisted citizen scientists to track migrations and to better understand how butterflies and other pollinators react to environmental changes.
Think of butterflies as an indicator for how well a habitat is doing. I call them nature's hot dogs a lot of the times because they move carbon and nitrogen through the system. So it's a caterpillar, which is often just this little blob of energy. Eggs with legs that gather nutrients from a plant and then are usually eaten by a larger animal such as a lizard, a bird, or a spider. Butterflies also have another service, which is pollination. So they help plants reproduce. They move pollen from one plant to another and fertilize plant eggs to become seeds and hopefully the next generation of plants. So I study how butterflies make a living and how we can help them in a changing world. My name is Katie Prudick. I'm a professor in the School of Natural Resources and the Environment. Originally, I wanted to be a marine biologist. Yeah, I even studied French in high school, which was, I think there were 4 students in that class. It was very unusual because I wanted to work with Jacques Cousteau. That's how committed I was. And then when I took my first marine biology class, I spent the entire time throwing up over the side of a boat. Sometimes when reality doesn't meet our expectations, we have to regroup and think about a new path. And that new path actually was to work for a butterfly biologist at UC Davis, where I was an undergraduate. And then once I started doing it, I realized how amazing butterflies are and what a privilege it is to study them.
Just here in southeastern Arizona, we have about 250, give or take, species of butterflies that we can see throughout the year. That's an incredible number of butterflies in such a small geographic area. The other really cool thing is their life cycle. You can go from this really tiny microscopic, almost as big as a piece of lead off your pencil, egg that turns into a caterpillar, and then that turns into a cocoon, and that becomes a butterfly. That's magic to me. That's a miracle. And there's a certain butterfly called the Gulf fritillary that lays its eggs on this.
So Hank and I met here at Tohono Chul, just talking about butterflies.
I was here looking at butterflies one day, and one of the grounds people said, hey, there's some woman here that wants to talk about butterflies. So I saw that as my chance to impress her with all my butterfly knowledge. Well, it turns out it was Dr. Prudick, and she impressed me with all of her butterfly knowledge.
Hank was already really excited about monarchs, and it was easy just sort of to bring him into all of the butterflies. So Hank's committed to citizen science and being a citizen scientist. There's only one of me, and I can only collect and see so many butterflies, but you start to wonder what happens when more and more people can go out and collect the data that you've been collecting. What can you do with that data? How will that help change not just the amount of data you analyze, but change the questions you can ask? So eButterfly is a citizen science collaboration between a bunch of people who for recreation go out and photograph and watch butterflies, recording what they see and when they see it. That data is then collected in a way which is uniform enough that scientists can use it for scientific research.
Years ago, when citizen scientists were first brought into the picture, a lot of professionals, a lot of people with degrees said, how can these people who are untrained, who know nothing about science, contribute anything? Well, over the years, and really all across the United States, it's been proven over and over again that citizen scientists, if they receive a little bit of training, can actually contribute quite a bit. Okay, we want to be really gentle with him, okay?
I will.
Okay.
I've caught many caterpillars.
Okay, good. So there you go. The amount of data that citizen scientists collect nationwide on a whole range of things really helps move science forward.
I'm worried about all insects, including butterflies, in a changing climate. Increased temperatures, also coupled with unusual precipitation patterns, is leading to butterfly decline. And those declines are concerning because so many other members of the ecosystem depend on butterflies for food. So it means that like the whole system is going to have to shift. Like where will birds find food for their nestlings? Will they move? That's certainly a possibility. So these common species that we see around, will they be here, 20 years from now, 10 years from now? That's the kind of timeline we're talking about.
Just in the last 5 years that I've been doing this, I've noticed a decrease in the total number of butterflies, and I've noticed a decrease in the number of species of butterflies that we see here at Tonatiuh.
Butterflies have been around since dinosaurs, so they've done this before. They've been through a fair number of mass extinctions. They've got this. Do I think that all of them will make it? No. Does that hurt? Yes, because they feel like family. And then also from an ecosystem perspective, some butterflies are better at providing services than others. And those are the ones that would be particularly harmful for functionality in an ecosystem. And so part of our research too is identifying what is sort of the best way to think about restoration and conservation.
Thank you for joining us here on Arizona Illustrated. I'm Tom McNamara. See you next week.